You're back in the wagering zone, the sports wagering zone. I'm Chris Pardo. We're coming to you live from Denver, Colorado on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network, as well as on most of the major podcast platforms such as Apple Podcasts or Spotify or even Google Podcasts as well. Most of the major ones, they carry us. You can listen to us any time of the day or night. Of course, right now, coming to you live. And of course, we're doing it live from Denver, Colorado. Thank you very much for listening. So, no matter what time zone you happen to be in, whatever you happen to be doing right now, welcome to the show. Got a lot to talk about today. Remember back in May, we talked about baseball. We had the NBA tournaments going on, but we always said, you know what? Start thinking about NFL because before you know it, you wake up and there you are. Here we are. We're going into August in another day or so. And before you know it, it's going to be September and the NFL season will be starting up. So we're going to start spending some time looking at NFL futures updates. We're going to try to keep you up to date as to some of our thoughts and ideas on those things as well. So, anyway, that's part of the story. Of course, as always, because we're still in the baseball season, we're going to be talking baseball. We're going to be looking at a couple of games and see how well as far as the line movements are concerned, and of course, as well as which direction the pros are going. Give you an update as to how well that system is, or method, whatever you want to call it, is doing. And of course, we're also going to be talking about what happened with the Dodgers yesterday, the Dodgers and the Yankees. Remember yesterday, on the yesterday show, we talked about looking at the Dodgers as still being the top dog in the West, even though San Francisco is in first place currently and kind of looks okay, 2-3 games ahead. But you know what? The Dodgers, we gave you some statistical advantages that we thought the Dodgers would have going in. And now, on top of that, even more happened yesterday as well, because the Major League trade line deadline, of course, that's today at 4 o'clock Eastern time, but there were a ton of trades that went down yesterday, and there's some big shifts in the futures markets as well. Of course, the biggest move yesterday, like we just got finished saying, the defending champions, Los Angeles Dodgers, picked up Max Scherzer and shortstop Trey Turner from the Nationals for a package of prospects. What a deal that was. The Dodgers were already the favorite to win the World Series, but now they saw their odds improve even further from being a plus 400 to a plus 325. Of course, these numbers we get from BetMGM. So if you would have had the Dodgers, or you would have bet them yesterday, you would have got them at plus 400. Now they're down to plus 325. The Dodgers are also now a plus 150 favorite to win the National League pennant as well. Meanwhile, in the American League, the Yankees, you know them, they're in New York. They traded for Joey Gallo of the Texas Rangers. They picked up Anthony Rizzo from the Cubs, and they moved from being a plus 2,500 to a plus 2,200 to win the World Series. They were a plus 1,400, moved to a plus 1,000 to win the American League, and they were plus 1,300. They moved down to plus 1,100 to win the American League East. Now, the Red Sox, they acquired Kyle Schwarber from the Nationals, and they still remain a slight minus 125 favorite to win that American League East, followed by the Rays, who are at a plus 130. So let's take a quick look and see what the updated World Series odds are going into today's trading deadline day. Like we said, the Dodgers are at plus 325. Astros at plus 450, the White Sox at plus 650, the Padres at plus 750, the Mets and the Giants at plus 1,000. The Rays, the Brewers, and the Red Sox, they're all at plus 1,200. The Yankees and the A's are at plus 2,200. The Jays are at plus 3,000. The Braves and the Phillies are at plus 5,000. And the biggest one on the lot, the Reds at plus 8,000. So that's kind of gives you an idea as to how the lines have changed, and they may even change some more. Once again, depending on what happens in the trading today. The deadline is today at 4 o'clock Eastern time, so keep your eye on that. If you have any thoughts on it, maybe time to act on them as well. So, in the meantime, however, let's take a look and see what happened yesterday. This is something we do on the show every day. We take a look back at Major League Baseball yesterday, give you an idea analytically how the teams have been doing, how everything is going on. The favorites and the underdogs. They split yesterday 6-6. They also split 6-6 on the run line. Okay, there wasn't a single one-run game all day yesterday. Now, of course, the biggest upset was by the Royals once again, plus 160 against the Chicago White Sox. The favorites now lead at 58.3% on the season. Now, as far as the overs and unders are concerned, they split yesterday at 6-6. The overs, they still hold the slight lead at 50.4%. So that kind of gives you an idea, a little rundown on what happened yesterday. Of course, there were any major sports that would have been involved, we'd bring you up to date and that as well. Now, of course, if you're new to the show, you kind of get the idea that here we're strictly analytical. We're going to look at data. We're going to see how it went for 10 years, 5 years, whatever it is. Not just what happened last week or the past month and try to predicate any type of prognostications in that direction. It's going to be over long periods of time. There's no emotion going to be involved. We're strictly dealing with numbers. The way the numbers go, that's what we tell you about. But again, as always, we just bring that information to your attention. It's up to you to decide what it is that you want to do with it. So, like we said, yesterday we are talking about the Dodgers. Big change over today. You see a big change in the line movement. So, those are the things that you have to be aware of, especially if you want to be ahead in this game as well. So, that's the story. Again, like I said, today on Tap, we have a couple of games to take a look at to give you an idea as to how they're going to be going as far as the money line is concerned, as far as the line movement, and of course, in which direction the pros are going as well. We can look at the Reds against the Mets, the Orioles against the Tigers, the Twins against the Cardinals. And as far as the winning and losing streaks, there are none even close to being at 6. We talk about winning and losing streaks. The whole idea there is you have to determine what number it is that you decide should be the number that is a streak. Here at the Sports Wagering Zone, we're talking about 6. So once a team either wins or loses 6 games, we kind of feel it comes into that winning losing strategy and kind of following it from that point on. But of course, you may be more conservative about it and say, hey, I'm going to wait till I hit 10. I want to be 10 games behind or 10 games ahead either way. Of course, you got a little more input there as far as a little more time. And if they are losing or winning more, you haven't lost anything. So you kind of keep on going in that direction. But again, that's up to you to decide. We're at number 6, but we have nothing on tap for that as far as today is concerned. So let's get that first break. And if you listened to the show before, you know we have 3 breaks in the show. Each one is of about a 1-minute duration. So if that's the case, we'll be back into the zone in 60 seconds. And welcome back. Yeah, we're back in the sports wagering zone. I'm Chris Pardo. We're coming to you live from Denver, Colorado. Yes, out here in the Plain States, as they call them out here. Denver, Colorado. Beautiful state. Nice mountains you look at. Absolutely gorgeous. Just moved here short time ago. And of course, as you know, if you've listened to the show, we had a 3-week hiatus there trying to get everything all put together, bringing the family over, get everything all set up. So I think we're just about hitting at almost all 8 cylinders right now. So anyway, that's the story. And once again, you're listening to us. If you're listening to us live, we're on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network. We're also on Blackjack TV, and we're also on MileHighRadio.com. But of course, if you're listening to one of the podcasts, we're either on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, you name it. We're on most of the major podcasts as well. So welcome to the show. So let's take a look and see what's going on as far as baseball is concerned for today. We're going to take a look at 3 games on tap for today and kind of give you an idea as to which direction the line movement is. And once you determine what direction that is, you're going to know which direction the pros are going as well. So taking a look at tonight at 7 o'clock, Cincinnati Reds down in New York to play the New York Mets again. The Reds are 54 and 49. The Mets 54 and 47 right there. This is a non-division game. You got 2 of the top 6 teams of the National League going head to head in this particular game. The Reds just took 3 out of 4 against the Cubs, and they're now just 4.5 games behind the wild card spot. And meanwhile, the Mets, well, they just dropped 3 of 5 against the Braves, but they still lead the National League East by 3.5 games over the Phillies, who are in second place. In the meantime, in tonight's opener, the Reds are going to come in with their right-hander, Sonny Gray, 2-6 with a 4.50 ERA. And the Mets will come back with Carlos Carrasco. He hasn't got a record. He's going to be making his season debut tonight. And they've been waiting quite a while to get this started. Carrasco's finally coming back because he had a torn hamstring back in March, so he's been out since then. He's ready to go today. The line opened up with the Mets listed as a minus 110 home favorite. Cincinnati, a plus 100 road dog. Now, on this particular game, the public, well, they're kind of split. The tickets are coming in about 50-50. They're not sure which way they want to go. Both teams are a little bit of a slump, but they're still in the running. The Mets are still in first place in their division, so they're kind of undecided in which way to go. Perhaps you feel that way as well. So when we give you some more information on the game, perhaps the information we give you will have something to do in helping you decide which way to go if you're betting this game at all, in other words, So the pros, they seem to be leading to the Mets. We've seen New York get steamed up from being a minus 110 to a minus 120 on the money line. Now, keep this one thing in mind. When non-division home favorites, they're at almost 62% this season. Non-division home favorites. That's what this game is. You have a non-division game. The Reds are one division, Mets in another. So they're at almost 62% for this season. The Mets are 32 and 18 at home so far this season, including 25 and 13 as a favorite. So we could also be looking at a higher scoring game. The total for this game is 8.5 runs, with the over being juiced up to minus 120. So there's a good possibility that that total number could move to 9 before game time. So if you're looking to bet in that direction, kind of see what's going on if you want to go with it or against it. So that's the Reds against the Mets in this particular game. Like I said, pros are on the Mets. General public, some are on the Mets, some are on the Reds. They're totally undecided, and rightfully so, because both teams are pretty well evenly matched, but that's the story as far as the line movement is concerned and where the pros are going. Also at 7 o'clock, the Baltimore Orioles. They're 35 and 66, playing the Detroit Tigers, who are 50 and 55. Now, the Tigers, they took care of business last night. They beat the Orioles 62 as a minus 145 home favorite. Now, in tonight's rematch, Baltimore comes in with their veteran right-hander, Matt Harvey, who's 5 and 10 with a 6.65 ERA. Detroit comes out with their lefty, Tariq Skubal. He's 6 and 9 with a 4.42 ERA. Now, as we look at the line in this game, it opened with the Tigers, a minus 130 as a home favorite. The Orioles opened up as a plus 120 road dog. The pros in this game pounced on the Tigers being at home, driving Detroit up from being a minus 130 up to minus 140 on the money line. Keep this in mind again. Non-division home favorites as the game before. But if they're coming off of a win, they're at 62% so far this season. The Tigers are 29 and 22 while at home. The Orioles are the worst road team in baseball at 18 and 35. Now, Detroit is 9 and 4 as a favorite. Baltimore is 32 and 59 as a dog. So the Orioles are just 13 and 23 against lefties this season. Baltimore is 18 and 33 as a road dog. And of course, the pros have also come in on the under in this game, dropping that total from 10 down to 9.5. So in this 7 o'clock game between the Orioles and the Tigers, the pros definitely on the Detroit Tigers. So let's take our second break. Let's get that out of the way. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the Minnesota Twins against the St. Louis Cardinals. In the meantime, it's not that difficult to get a hold of us here at the Zone. All you have to do is send an email and send it to the Sports Wagering Zone at gmail.com. That's the Sports Wagering Zone at gmail.com. If you have any questions, we'll try to find the answer for you. If we don't have it, we know where we can get it. And of course, if you have any comments on the show, do we talk too much about something, not enough about something else? Because we always tell people we've been doing the show for almost 5 years. We're in a bubble here. We've been doing things a certain way. Yeah, we tweak it here and there every now and then, but generally we kind of keep a general format that we've had together all the way. So, perhaps it's time to maybe make a change or two, but of course we want to leave that up to you. So if there's something that you think we should kind of look at and maybe add or delete from our system, we'd be more than happy to take a look at it, and if we feel that it's right, we will do it. So that's the story. Once again, that email address, the sports wagering zone at gmail.com. We'll be back in the sports wagering zone in 1 minute. And welcome back. You're back in the sports wagering zone. I'm Chris Pardo. We're coming to you live from Denver, Colorado on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network, as well as most of your major podcast platforms, such as Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, Apple Music, we're on most of them. You can find us. It's very, very easily. So, welcome and thank you very much for listening. We're here every day, by the way, Monday through Friday, right here at 12 noon Eastern Time. And of course, tomorrow's Saturday, Saturdays and Sundays, we're here earlier. We're here at 11 a.m. Eastern Time as well. And the primary reason for that little change in time is because once the NFL season starts, we want to get to you before the big sports shows come on, like NFL Today, things of that nature. So this way you'll get a chance to listen to what we're talking about, and then you can pick up on the others. And hopefully, with all the information you get from everyone, you can come up with a very good system, a good way of picking some winners. So in the meantime, though, we're still talking baseball. Baseball season will be around until October and right into the football season as well. So far we talked about two games: the Reds against the Mets. In that particular game, where I said where the general public is kind of not sure which way they want to go, they're kind of ambivalent on this one. The pros, without a doubt, they are on the New York Mets. Meanwhile, the Orioles and the Tigers, in that game, the pros are on the home team, the Detroit Tigers, and the favorite as well. Now, one more game to look at, and that is the Minnesota Twins against the St. Louis Cardinals. That's somewhere around 8 o'clock this evening. Now, this also, it's an interleague showdown. You got two teams with really disappointing seasons so far, if you want to look at it from that perspective. The Twins are dead last in the American League Central. The Cardinals are 9.5 games in back of the Brewers in the National League Central, so you can see where that comes from. Now, in tonight's opener, the Twins come in with their ace, Jose Berrios. He's 7.5 with a 3.48 ERA. The Cardinals come in with their lefty, Wade LeBlanc. He's 0-1 so far this season with a 3.45 ERA. Now, as we look at the line for this game, Minnesota came out and was listed as a minus 130 road favorite. And the St. Louis Cardinals were a plus 120 as a home dog. Now, the pros, they like the home dog Cardinals because they're getting that plus money, which has caused St. Louis, because of their input of their cash, going from being a plus 120 down to being a plus 110 on the money line. Now, keep this in mind. Interleague home teams, which the Cardinals are in this game, they have a line move in their favor, have gone 59% so far this season. Now, home dogs in general have gone 45.9% as a win rate, but they've produced roughly 21 units on the plus side as money won because of the payouts on the plus money side when you're betting an underdog. And of course, as we get further into the season, as before we get into the NFL season, actually, we're going to try to tell you more about how that kind of works. If you bet on the underdogs, you're in the plus column. Whereas if you're betting favorites, you're in the minus column, because if you lose and you're laying, say, 150 to win 100, you've lost $150. Meanwhile, if you're betting on an underdog who's at plus 150 or plus 140, if they win, you're in at plus 140, you've won $140 in that same situation. So if you kind of go through that and you look at the underdogs, even though they may not have won as many games, but the fact that they're in the plus money area, they're a good situation to take a look at. So, like we said, interleague home teams with a line move in their favor have gone 59% so far this season, and home dogs are somewhere almost at 46%, at 45.9%. But again, 21 units on the plus side. By that we mean if you bet $100 for each game, you'd be up $2,100 at this point in time. The Cardinals are 28-20 at home this season. The Twins, well, they're 19-30 on the road. So we could also be looking at a lower scoring game as well. The total is 8.5 runs, with the under being juiced up to -120. So that is a good possibility that 8.5 number will drop down to 8. The under is 26-19 at Busch Stadium this season, which is almost 58%. As far as the weather's concerned, it's going to be temperatures in the high 80s, in the high 70s, low 80s, with 7 to 10 mile per hour winds blowing in from center field into home plate. So that's why there's that possibility of a lower scoring game. Now, so far, the three games we talked about are this. In the first game, we talked about the Mets against the Reds. The pros are on the Mets. Tigers against the Orioles. The pros are on the Tigers. And in this game, they're on the underdog, the St. Louis Cardinals against the Minnesota Twins. Now, to give you an idea as to how this method, system, whatever you want to call it, everybody has a different name for it, okay? Yesterday, we had two plays. Had the Yankees against Tampa. We had Tampa in that game, and that was a winner. White Sox against Kansas City. We had the White Sox in that game. As you know, Kansas City, big underdog, came back with a big money win. Kansas City won that game, so that's a loss. So we had two plays yesterday, one winner, one loser. So far in the month of July, we've had 57 plays so far. 29 of those plays were winners. So we come up with a 50.8% as far as an average is concerned. And just kind of look back at a couple of days to give you an idea as to what the trend has been like. The day before that, we also had two plays. We would have had three, but the Washington-Philadelphia game was postponed because of the COVID. You had two plays. You had one winner, one loser, which is the same as yesterday. The day before that, we had three plays. We had two winners and one loser. The day before that, we had two losers, and the day before that, we had two winners and one loser. So kind of get an idea as to which direction they're kind of going. So when you hear this type of information, you kind of look at it and say, well, they just lost 3 games in a row. They lost 2 games in a row. The pros, because they're at 60%, 59%, somewhere in that area as far as their win totals are concerned, you might say, hey, they might be ready to come back. So you use that as a positive. Or you may say, hey, they've won 3 in a row. They're hot. I'm going to stay with them. Or maybe they peaked already. It's time for them to lose. You may bet against them. Again, we don't tell you how to do it. We just give you that information, and then you kind of take it from there. Very simply, no problem whatsoever. So that's the story as far as baseball is concerned. And like we said earlier, got to start looking at the NFL. So whenever we have some time, like today, because we have no winning or losing streaks to talk about, we're going to talk about some football. We're going to talk about some futures betting as far as the Washington football team is concerned, kind of give you some thoughts and ideas on that game and which direction we're kind of thinking about as far as that game is concerned. So let's get that third break out of the way. And when we come back, we're going to take a look at the Washington Nationals, see what our thoughts are on that game, see if you agree on them, see as to what their totals are going to be for this coming season as well. So just a reminder, you're in the sports wagering zone. We'll be back in 1 minute. And welcome back. You're back in the sports wagering zone. I'm Chris Pardo. Thank you very much for listening. We're coming to you live from Denver, Colorado on the I 95 Sports and Entertainment Network, as well as most of your major podcast platforms as well. Well, the NFL camps are open everywhere. So we're going to take a look at some futures bets that we kind of think you might want to take a look at and may be worth playing as well. We talked about the Washington football team. The looking at 8.5 wins. That's their total for this coming season. We're thinking it's going to be under that 8.5 wins because you know what? They're going to be the darling of the guys that out there talking about football all season long, and of course they kind of rose from the abyss. They were down like 2-7 when they started last season. Then they wound up winning the NFC East, even though it was kind of controversial as to how they actually got into the playoffs. But you know what? They did it. They still got in. They were valiant when they were defeated. They covered the spread in the first round of the playoffs as well. So kind of keep that in mind. But you know what? The season win totals, they're a battle of the team against the schedule that they've been set up with. And in this case, I think the favorite of the schedule is this way. In weeks 1 and 2, the Washington football team plays the Chargers and then they play the Giants. Now, more likely than not, that's going to be a split. Again, more than likely to see how the Giants do. Chargers will probably beat them. Giants are improving. The early reports on that team are very good. But again, so let's just say they split 50-50. But then from week 3 to week 12, well, in that situation, you got to wish them a lot of luck because you got games against the Bills, the Chiefs, the Packers, the Buccaneers, the Seahawks, and the Saints. In addition, they have road games in Atlanta and here in Denver that are not going to be easy as well. So, one of the easier non division matchups is going to be against the Raiders. But unfortunately for Washington, that game is going to be in Vegas, and the Raiders will be on extra rest because they would have played Thursday the week before. Okay. While Washington will be off a Monday night game against Seattle. So they're going to be on short rest. The Raiders are going to be on longer rest. So you kind of think about what's going to happen in that game. Now, even games against the Cowboys that were layups last year are not going to be much this year because Dak Prescott's coming back, even though he's kind of injured right now, but he's going to be coming back as well. Washington had the really good idea, the good fortune to face the Cowboys with Andy Dalton and Ben DiNucci last season. They defeated Nick Mullins and Ryan Finley, and they won the infamous Nate Sudfeld game in Week 17, and the Eagles as they rolled over the Eagles, of course, with some help from the Eagles, if you look at it from that perspective. So you have a murderous schedule in 21. Kind of makes me think that Washington is destined for maybe 6, maybe 7 wins tops. Winning 9 or more and going over 500, that'd be a major accomplishment for this team. You got Ryan Fitzpatrick at quarterback. He's played for almost every team in the NFL, never made the playoffs in nearly 20 years. So take the under in this game. Don't be afraid to look at some alternative unders, as this schedule could really make for a long year for Washington. Also, looking at the Buccaneers as a minus 175 to win the NFC South. That's minus 175. That's at DraftKings. Now, the Super Bowl hangover in this situation is real. Usually, I'd be looking to fade a team that won or even played in the Super Bowl the year before. But the defending champs coming back, okay? I mean, everybody. Coaches coming back, the players coming back. You never ever before seen a defending championship team completely come back in the same condition they were the season before. The Bucks, they also have the carrot of the division title to motivate themselves as well, because as a lot of you may have forgotten, they didn't win the NFC South last year. Okay, keep that in mind. The Saints won it, and although Drew Brees was clearly not the player he was earlier in his career, we saw the Broncos fall off the map after Peyton Manning retired back in 2016. So the Saints still have some productive skill players. They have a Hall of Fame coach, a competent defense as well. I'm just not a fan of utility infielder Taysom Hill. The thought of him winning 11 or 12 games, which is necessary to repeat in the division, seems like a real stretch. The Saints also will have the obstacle of facing a first-place schedule, another advantage for the Bucks. The Panthers, well, they're still rebuilding. The Falcons, they could be improved because they have a new coaching staff, but the Bucks should cruise to at least 12-5 next season. That's a mark nobody in the division is likely to even come close to. The Bucks will be honing in on cashing this ticket by Thanksgiving. By Thanksgiving, they should be pretty well primed and ready to go into the playoffs. So those are two things we kind of looked at. Look at the Buccaneers as a minus 175 on the money line to win the NFC South, which they did not win last year. And also take a look at the Washington football team. Go over that schedule, kind of get an idea as to what's going to be going on. And I think you might agree that under 8.5 may very well be the play in that situation. So that's the story as far as NFL is concerned for today. We're going to keep you up to date, and we're going to keep a close eye on the futures market, kind of give you some thoughts and ideas to just kind of take a closer look at. Okay, not saying this is what you should do, but take a look at it, see what you think about it. See what happens. See what happens over the next few weeks. Is Dak Prescott going to be really out a little bit longer, maybe? Will he be out for the game against Washington? You see, those are the kind of things you have to kind of look at, kind of put all of that together, and then hopefully you're going to be ahead of the game as well. So, yes, once again, talking about the baseball games on tap for today. 3 games. The Reds against the Mets. The pros in that game are on the Mets. The public's undecided which team to bet on. They're very evenly matched. Meanwhile, Baltimore against Detroit, no problem there. The pros are on the Tigers. And when you look at the Twins and the Cardinals, in that game, the pros are on the underdog, the Cardinals, as well. So that's the story for today. It's Friday. It's the end of the week. We're here every day, Monday through Friday, 12 noon Eastern Time. We come to you live from Denver, Colorado on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network. Tomorrow's Saturday. Saturdays and Sundays, we're here at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So kind of make a note of that if you want to listen to the show live tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Otherwise, you can listen to us on most of the major podcast platforms, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, you name it. We're on most of them as well. So today is Friday, the end of the week, the end of the work week. Hope you have a nice weekend coming up. If you listen to the show, we hope you do. But if you don't, we just want to wish you a happy weekend, a profitable weekend if you're going to be betting as well as for today. So have a great Friday. If you're making any wagers, any bets today, I hope you have a profitable Friday as well. So again, until tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, right here on the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Network. I'm Chris Pardo. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow. Goodbye, everybody.